welcome to a brand new episode of Happy Mum, Happy Baby, the podcast. I don't know why I still say the podcast. It's clear it's a podcast, but there we go. That's what I always say. I'm really excited about today's guest. He's actually been in my life for 25 years this September.
25 years?
Yes, I know. 25 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we're that old. Many people will know him from Busted, from McBusted. He's an amazing actor, incredible. If you get the chance to ever see him on stage, please do. He just finished 222 last night. I went to see him a few weeks ago, and I'm very, very proud of him. He is dad to 3 gorgeous children and married to one of my best mates. It's Matt Willis.
Hey!
In fact, you are one of my best mates.
Oh.
We put you in there. You are, without doubt. If I talk to you about anyone, me and Tom say this to you all the time, so it's fine. But we will literally say that you are one of the world's greatest humans. You're one of the best people that we know.
Well, thank you very much. That's got me a little bit. Thanks so much, G. I really appreciate that. You know, we're so fond of you guys. You know, you're absolutely brilliant, and we're so pleased you're in our life.
Aww.
In such a big way as well. It's so great.
And we also get the added bonus of seeing each other on the school run.
We do.
We
do.
It's a nice way to start the day.
Do you know what? I'm so pleased to see you on the school run because I'm not going to lie, the school run was always one of the worst parts of being a parent. You know, I was never really, I was always the weird one. You know, like I was always like, I remember very vividly, like picking up, I was in McBusted and I had green hair, like bright green tennis ball hair. And I was, we were at a photo shoot and I rushed back from the photo shoot because I had to pick up Isabel from school. And I rushed back and I went to the gate and I picked her up and we were walking to the car and she went, "Daddy, when you next pick me up, please wear a hat." She was about 7. I was like, "Wiz, what?" You know, and she's like, "You're already the one with tattoos." She goes, "Now you've got green hair." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm embarrassing Dad already."
And then we started, and Tom came in with his blue hair and his tattoos.
Exactly. I was like, "Great, brilliant." Yeah, more rejects, fantastic. Yeah.
It's funny though, if you think like we started our friendship off at school, and now we are back at school, but for our kids.
Yeah, it's so strange, isn't it? Yeah. You know, I remember you and Tom at school so well. You know, I mean, me and Tom had a funny relationship at school because he was mates with that other kid, James, I think. And I don't know. They used to say things that used to really annoy me.
Aww.
You know, I don't know. Like, I didn't take banter very well. You know,
didn't you?
Not as well as I gave it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like so I
okay.
kind of laugh it off, but I'd be like that, you know, and so Tom was always in that bracket for me. But then we became such good mates. It's like it's funny, isn't it? You're not very close at school, and then you leave school, and suddenly
and the fact that school for us was 140 people in its entirety. Like you were 2 years above us.
Yeah. But you knew everyone.
Yeah, and Thursday, Fridays, everyone mixes up, so you're not actually just with your school year the whole time. You're with the whole school.
Yeah, was Ronnie in your year?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ronnie Quirk was a good mate of mine, you know, so me and him used to meet up on the way to school.
What did you used to do on your way to school then, Matt?
Well, we used to meet at Embankment Station.
Right.
Like, I used to get off the Bakerloo line at Embankment, meet him outside. We used to go for a couple of cheeky fags. and then get to school. Like, but I was 14, so he would have been 12.
Oh my God.
Me, and he was small, you know, so I was like, me and this little 12-year-old kid were smoking fags outside of Embankment Station.
He was a proper geezer.
He was a proper lad, yeah. He was a proper lad.
My trip to school was, I used to get there really, really early, and I used to do that so that, first of all, I could see Tom, would have a little cheeky wave or whatever, cheeky smoke before school, but also I'd stop at the cafe to get a bacon sandwich.
I drive past that cafe all the time.
No.
And I think about that, because I remember in year 11, we got to go out for lunch, and I used to go there almost every day.
Really?
Yeah, I used to love it. I was going to either go to the chip shop next door or the cafe.
It's so funny. I think when you think of people going to like theatre school and that pushiness, I think people just think that we're going to be like have smoothies shoved down our throats the whole time.
Yeah.
But actually, nothing like that ever went on.
No, not at all. No, I ate super noodles the entire time I was there. You know, like used to be, they used to sell like, what do they sell, like toasties and things?
Yeah, that was all there was.
Yeah,
then.
all there was toasties, and I used to bring in like some Tesco value noodles in like a Tupperware and put some boiling water with them. That was my lunch every day, apart from when I got to go to cafe.
Mine was rice with a stock cube. I used to
really?
make it before I left. We're so happy.
Nutrition. We were so happy. Yeah.
These kids that are dancing and doing like movement and everything all day long. Let's just,
let's just play on with rubbish. Yeah. Do you look back on those days as great?
Oh, I just think we were so lucky to have that, you know, to have that in our lives. What was life like for you outside of that growing up? Were you the only person that you know that did sort of all your singing and acting?
Oh yeah, totally.
Right.
Well, I didn't really do it until I went to Sylvia's. Really, I kind of well, my mum used to make me like I'd always sung, you know, since I was a kid. But my brother was the one who was kind of like the singer and the guitar player and going to be a rock star, and like I was not allowed to play his guitar. It was in the room. And once I remember I played it when he was out. I was trying to play Wonderwall again and again and again. And I broke a string.
Oh, no.
And I was absolutely terrified. And I knew he was coming home. I was in so much trouble for that. But he was always the one who was kind of like, you know, going to be, you know, doing that. And I was kind of like just not really, I don't know. It wasn't really part of my life really. And then I started singing. And my mum made me do a talent show in Haven holiday camp, you know, and I won. And like then she was off.
Right.
And she was like, right, we've got a
just
medal.
Pushed aside.
Yeah, but then my brother wasn't interested because he was like, I don't want to sing in talent show, you know. And I was like, then most weekends she'd drive me to some random theatre in like Woking or something, and we'd have to do some talent show singing competition. Like literally, like for about a year. Every weekend, we'd just get in a car and we'd drive someplace, and I'd win a medal, you know, and like then we talk about it for a couple of weeks, and then we go do another one, you know. And it was like a talking point at like family things, you know. So it was kind of like that was my first kind of intro to it, and then literally I sung again at that Haven holiday camp, and someone in the audience worked at Sylvia's.
No.
Yeah, was like I think you should meet a friend of mine who works in like full time at Sylvia's, and they were doing a open call for the scholarship, and I went for that. Just literally from like going to like a regular school where there's kind of fights in the corridors and all that kind of stuff to going to Sylvia's where people are singing Les Mis and pirouetting in the corridors. I was like, wow, this is a bit of a culture shock. Like I'd never heard anything like that before. I'd never heard like Les Mis or anything like that. Or nothing. So I kind of went there going, wow. And you know, like, it was just completely mind blowing. But I absolutely grabbed it with both hands. I was like, I remember, like, going there and kind of knowing of Sylvia's because of the Spice Girls video where Emma Bunton wore that uniform, and like so kind of hearing about Sylvia Young as a place that stars are born and all that kind of stuff, you know, and in my class, Billie Piper was in my class, and she was there for about 3 months, and then suddenly she wasn't in class anymore. I was like, where's Billie? They were like, oh, she's signed a record deal. I was like, what? She's like 15. And they were like, yeah, signed a record deal. She's going to have a song coming out. I was like, what? Suddenly, you know, Billie Piper was out. And I was like, wow, she was in class with me. This is possible. You know, and it kind of changed my kind of, I don't know, my world in a way. I was like, wow, these things are actually achievable for people like me. Yeah. You know, so it was a real kind of like massive moment.
Yeah. How would you describe your childhood?
I don't know, tricky. You know, I was kind of quite lost. You know, I was kind of quite I wasn't very happy at home, you know, and I had kind of lots of stuff going on, you know, and which was difficult for a kid to deal with and understand, and I kind of and so I was never really there, you know. I kind of as soon as I was old enough to kind of be out and about, I was out and about. So like I'd leave Sylvia's and not come home until bed, you know, like I just kind of like I kind of wake up, leave, you know, come home, go to sleep, you know, that kind of thing, you know. So it was very I was quite troublesome, was quite kind of mixed up in kind of quite a lot of trouble, not because it was kind of like I searched it out. Really? If I'm honest, I was always the one who was kind of like, right, where's the, you know, what's going on, you know, that kind of thing. I just kind of wanted something to do, you know, something to kind of like fill me with a bit of something, you know. It's so weird, like kind of like the childhood I had and the childhood my children hopefully have, you know. It's kind of I'm very aware of that, you know. I kind of very, you know, it's funny, isn't it? Because then it kind of becomes sometimes something else for me where I feel this guilt for work, you know, and I kind of feel this, that I was touring with Waitress for about 10 months. Right. And like lockdown had been happening, you know, so like I was like, someone offered me a job for 10 months. I was like, touring's fine. You know, I've been on tour most of my life.
We can make it work.
I've been on tour most of my life. It's fine. You're used to it. you know, but actually that was really, really hard on my family, I think. And it was kind of it was one of those decisions you made, and you kind of look back and you go, maybe that wasn't the best one for our family. But it was, and it's funny, it always kind of, I heard someone say that, you know, kids will never look back and gonna go, yeah, Daddy wasn't there, but I got a great new bike at Christmas. You know, they're never going to look back and say that. You know, they're always going to go, you know, so I'm very aware of that. And I really don't want them to, I don't want to miss out on that stuff, you know, so it's very hard kind of balancing that now.
It's that parent guilt. I think it's talked a lot about mum guilt in that sense of work, but actually it does happen with dads as well. And I think it is something important that we have to talk about. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I think that's a real kind of stereotypical view of kind of like the provider role, you know, which I think is bullshit. You know, I think it's you know, we're a team, me and Emma. You know, we're trying to kind of balance that out, and we're both better at different things. You know, quite dramatically. You know, but it's we really try and balance that out. So, and sometimes we'll be working a lot, and sometimes we'll go no. You know, we need to kind of be, you know, at home, and it's and that's tough. But we kind of always find ways of making it work in a way. You know, like this last kind of 18 months has been quite full on for me, which has been, but not so much for Emma. Yeah. And then before then it was the other way around, you know, so it's kind of been, it's kind of like that a little bit with our lives, but then there'll suddenly be time when we're both around, you know, which is great. So it's kind of, but, you know, it's funny in this kind of weird business we call show, you know, like you know, like things come and go, and you know, like and being an actor, we kind of, you know, we never know what's going to come, and like we just got to take things when we get them sometimes, you know, and then we're going to weigh them up a little bit, you know. But you know,
did you always think you'd have a family?
All I ever wanted to be in the world was a dad.
Really?
Yeah, like when I think back to it, the only thing I ever wanted was to be a dad, and like really, it was so important to me, you know, like I never really thought I would, I don't know, I think back to being a kid, and I used to think that love was kind of made up, like Neverland, you know, like I thought it was just this made up thing that people kind of like said. I was like, I never really felt like I felt that. Right. Yeah, I felt a bit like a robot when I was a kid. I never really had many, I learned to kind of suppress kind of feelings and kind of emotions, and kind of like whenever I showed them, it made things worse, you know. So I kind of I learned to kind of like, in a bad way, to kind of not have them, you know. So I kind of didn't really feel that emotion, but I looked at other people's families, and when there'd be like for instance, Emma's family are this kind of like, when I first started dating Emma and I go around to her house, I'd be like, wow, you guys actually want to hang out with each other. You know, like you actually want to be together, and all you want is to sit down and kind of be together on the sofas and stuff. I was like, wow, this is really uncomfortable and weird for me. You know, I found it so strange. Like I just wanted to get out. I didn't really kind of know what to do or how to chill, you know, and those kind of things just were quite alien to me. You know, and it kind of, I was like 21, you know, and I'd been in the band, and I kind of been used to kind of like doing that kind of life. So I was kind of, it was a very strange experience, you know, but I looked upon those kind of families when I was young with such envy, you know, and kind of like I really wanted that, you know. So I always wanted to be in a family. I'd be a dad.
What sort of dad did you think you would be?
Quite different to the dad I am, you know. You know, I mean, it's funny, innit? You kind of like, I read all those books, you know. Well, I've read some of them, the beginning of it,
the introduction. You know, I've got it all. Exactly. It's all in there.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so all that kind of stuff, you know, and I kind of don't really think I've paid attention to much of that stuff, you know, because I think it's about, I don't know, you know, it's such a weird thing, but I think the more I learn, the more it's about, this is going to sound like a strange word, but service. You know, like in recovery and kind of in drinking drugs, service is a big part of that. And I think it's about, when you have children, it becomes not about you. And that's so freeing, you know, and so kind of beautiful, and so much more rewarding than going for things for a goal for you. You know, it becomes much more about, is this the right thing? Is this for what, you know, we want? And kind of like, and so I don't ever begrudge them for having to drive them round or kind of do these kind of annoying things that I hate, you know, or going to kids' parties and talking to other parents, you know, like, which I don't particularly love, you know, but I don't begrudge that because it's kind of like what I want in a way, you know, I want to kind of be there for them, you know.
Yeah. And you want to create an environment for them where they feel safe and heard and seen. Exactly.
So
I think that's definitely one thing, you know, because we're a few years behind you in terms of our ages, but from our point of view looking in, you are a family who communicate, you listen to each other, you know, that is so huge. And actually, if you think about your childhood where maybe you didn't feel that connection, where actually you've created an environment where your kids absolutely have that.
Yeah, totally. Because, you know, they're usually right. You know, that's what I mean. Not all the time, you know, but it's I suppose it's like, I don't know. I find it so weird that kids have to make such big decisions about their lives.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, they're so young. Like, how can you make any decisions about what you love or what you don't love? You know, like, I mean, I don't think I've got shit sorted out now, and I'm 40 soon. You know, like, how are you supposed to have anything sorted out by the time you're 18?
Yeah.
You know, like, it's so weird. And like in school, like, you know, I used to be really weird about them trying things and stopping them.
Right.
Like clubs and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be like, and at once I was like, I even made them sign a contract. I was like, "What, you want to do this? Okay, cool. We can do this. We can put out these hours on a Saturday morning to go to this thing, but I want you to sign a contract for 12 weeks. And whatever happens, birthday parties, anything like that, it doesn't matter. If you want to do this, we're doing it every Saturday morning for 12 weeks." And I made them sign a contract. Because I thought that was about commitment. I was like, right, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to be committed, you know, like, and that did not work, you know.
So what was the learning? Because you're obviously going into that, you think it's a lesson of commitment, but actually,
totally.
What did it become?
It became something where we all felt a bit of shame and kind of like, and like we're letting the thing down, you know, and it's like, oh my God, this is not what I want at all. You know, you don't want to feel like this. You know, who cares if you don't make trampolining? You know, like, really, you know, it's not important, you know. So it's like, you know, but, you know, you hear about these things and you learn these things and you kind of try them out and you're like, yeah, this doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's the thing. I think sometimes we get so set in our ways that it has to be done in this way, and actually kind of working through it together is probably the best thing.
Absolutely. You know, it's I can't believe I made them sign a contract. I made them sign the names. Right, trampoline. Okay, we're going to go every Saturday morning and we will sign the contract and we'll be there. You know, idiot.
Dear.
You know, but you know, so yeah, I think it's you know, it's all learning, isn't it? It's all kind of like, you know, and also letting them kind of just be free to explore. Yeah. You know, which they're very good at.
Yeah.
You know, and they find their way. You know, like, I mean, Isabel's so into drama and acting and singing, and I was like, is this me? Have I pushed this on her? But I don't think I have. Yeah. You know, I think you just absorb what you absorb, you know, and you kind of see your, you know, hopefully people you admire and you want to do what they do. I did. I watched, you know, MTV and all these things and kind of was like, I want to do this. I want to be like them, you know. So maybe, hopefully they're seeing it in me and Emma, you know. So it's like, you know, and whatever else they're watching, you know. So,
Can you remember when you and Emma first decided that you were going to actually start a family? Because I imagine it was something that was talked about with you two pretty early on.
No.
Was it not?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was kind of, Emma was pregnant and it didn't happen. Yeah. You know, and we had a miscarriage when we were away one time and it was really, and it happened and it was awful. And then I think when she became pregnant again, I just thought subconsciously that it would happen again. Right. You know, I just kind of almost prepared myself for that in a way, you know. So when she was 7 months pregnant, I was like, oh shit, this is going to happen. I'm going to have a baby, you know, like, and then it hit me, you know, and then, but I was,
So do you think you were almost sort of disconnecting yourself from it a little bit just in case?
I think so.
Is that like protecting yourself in a way? I
think so, you know, and I was kind of still a bit of a mess in those times, you know, like I was kind of like, I was relapsing and I was kind of trying so hard to stay clean and it was kind of, and it was a really difficult time for everybody. And then I was
obviously because of that. I guess both of your ways of coping with miscarriage would have been different as well. And also, I think sometimes with miscarriage and loss, you don't process it at different times. Like things can happen, like a pregnancy, that forces you to look back and to process what's gone on and kind of address it.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know whether that was mixed up in my addiction at the time. I think my addiction was just my addiction, and it was kind of separate to everything, and it was my overriding demon that I was kind of trying to kind of battle on a daily basis. And then when Isabel was born, I stayed clean for a while, and then I relapsed again when she was about 6 months old, and I kind of and I missed Emma's birthday. She was in Birmingham, and I kind of I was doing a TV show at the time, and it was the wrap party, and someone just handed me a glass of champagne, and I was off the races that night. And I turned up at her parents' house at like 4 a.m. off my head, and it was the worst. And but then the next morning, I kind of walked down. I knew what I'd done, and then I kind of, Emma told me that I missed Isabel crawling. For the first time, she kind of bum shuffled and stuff, but she never crawled. And she called that night, and I was in a pub in Watford with strangers, and then in a car with strangers. I missed that, and it really and it dawned on me that I was going to be a terrible father. And it really hit me, and I saw everything, that cycle of shit repeating, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it was, and everyone talks about kind of rock bottoms and things, and and I've always been scared of those words because people die at rock bottoms, I don't know whether or not we have to hit them or what we can define them as, because they're a scary thing to define, and it's just all right, it hasn't hit his rock bottom yet. I think that's a terrifying thing to say, because, if we keep searching for it, we'll find it, and it's, but that for me was the turning point. And I ran out the house, and I walked down the road, and I walked to the pub, and I kind of and I didn't go in, and I had some gear in my pocket which I chucked in the bin, and I bought a Lucozade, and I walked back to the house, and I got on my knees, and I apologised, and I said I was so sorry, and I was going to change, and I really meant it, for the first time I really meant it. I'd said it 1,000 times, but that moment, it wasn't so much about stopping drinking drugs. It was about being a terrible father, and losing everything, and them having to live with that, and it became about something else, and it really.
Also, I guess if your whole life you're kind of gearing towards, you said before about the thing that you wanted to be was a dad, and actually realizing that you were going to become the opposite kind of dad to what you wanted and what you dreamed of.
Yeah.
And because
absolutely.
people can say, and you'd have met loads of people along the way who would share their story, share the realities of their story, the realities of yours. We both know people who have lost their lives because of addiction. But it's one thing, those stories are one thing, but actually the reality of you and in that, the innocence of that moment actually.
Yeah.
Possibly is very different to this other big stuff that's out there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, when I think back to it, I've had so many kind of influential people in my life sit me down, when I think back to it, really pivotal people in my life kind of sat me down and went, Matt, you've got a problem, you've got to sort it out.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? No. And at times I've gone, yeah, because I don't want them to think less of me, But this was not that. Yeah. This was me realizing that everything that I had resented and that had fed my self-hatred, my kind of every dark moment of me, I was then going to inflict on other people, and it was really obvious. You know, there was no two ways about it. I couldn't get out of it, and I couldn't stop. And then I just I surrendered, you know, and kind of went, I have a real problem here. I don't know what to do, you know, and I asked for help, and people gave it to me freely. You know, it was beautiful, and it's been an ongoing thing daily since then.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's go to the births, because
Yes.
that's quite an experience.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, again, you can read the books, but until you're in it,
Yeah.
you don't know what's going to... And actually, every birth is different. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
How did you feel going towards Isabel's birth? Because obviously you didn't really connect to the pregnancy for a while.
Yeah.
But then at 7 months, you know,
Yeah, you're in.
you're in.
You're in. I think it was, you know, we kind of, we'd done the classes, we'd kind of done all that stuff, and we kind of...
How did you feel doing all that stuff? Did it? Because obviously at that time you're still, you know, very much pop band member. You know, like
Yeah.
you're in a band. Or I know busted. Well, he's still known for that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, very much so.
And was it a very? Because on one hand you're this guitar playing, like bass playing, you know, rock star, and the flip side is you're in an antenatal class or learning how to, you know, change nappies.
Yeah, with other people.
Yeah.
You know, which were and it was I think it kind of like, it was very weird walking in. You know, like and there was lots of you know, and like little people kind of secretly with their cameras, you know, which is always weird. You know, but then literally within half an hour we're all like, what? What? Okay.
What's going to happen?
Yeah. And there's always the one who knows everything.
Right.
I was not that one. I was like, sorry, what was that? Okay. All right. You know,
It's not going to
asking
come out
loads
the belly button.
Exactly. What? Yeah. You know, so what do I do? Yeah, not a lot. Okay, great. You know, so it was it was really those classes are really weird, but you know, I learned a lot from them. You know, I kind of I found it quite interesting. You
Did
know?
it help you feel more connected to what was going on? Because obviously it all happens to the woman's body, so it's, you know, it's difficult to know, I think, when you're a man.
Yeah, and there is very little that you, I don't know, you feel very powerless.
Yeah.
You know, you feel very kind of like, right, and it's just like, right, I've got to support as much as I can, you know, and that was my role, you know, and like we I kind of said to Emma, I think your mum should be there when you,
Oh.
you know, and she was.
She's so amazing.
She's so amazing.
One of
Well,
them.
she's been a nurse for
Yeah.
years, you know. So I was like, I think your mum should be in there too.
As soon as he said it, was Emma like, yes.
Emma was like,
this
are
is
you sure? Great, brilliant, fantastic. I was like, okay, great.
What he asked her.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm like, you know, I was 26 and I was kind of like, I have no, you know, I don't think I'm fully equipped for this, you know. But actually, like, Kath was there, but it was very much about us.
Yeah.
You know, and it was very much about us being there, and Emma was amazing. And then kind of like, you know, things went very slow, then very quickly kind of wrong in a way, and in the end we had to have kind of an emergency C-section, which was very scary.
Yeah.
You know, but I trusted the people that were talking to us. You know, that they spoke to me, and I knew that they were right, and what they were doing was the right thing. And our doctor was incredible, you know, and he was like, he told us exactly what was going on, exactly why, and we need to do this now. And I was like, okay, great. You know, I trusted him wholeheartedly. You know, so it was and then it was so it was quite strange, the kind of birth, and you know, but Emma was incredible. She was really calm. She looked a bit scared, but she looked really scared actually. But then she was fantastic, you know, and she held Isabel straight away, and it was you know, it was all kind of quite hairy at the time. But then I think with Ace it was even more difficult for me.
Really?
I think because Ace was really ill when he was first born. Like, he was in the intensive care for about 5 days in like this little, you know, that clear box, you know, and you couldn't touch him all the time. You couldn't pick him up, and he had all these tubes and this kind of stuff up. His nose was all pulled back, and he had these things strapped to his face, and it was, we'd gone to this kind of like, I feel a bit pretentious saying this, but we'd gone to this quite posh private hospital, and we knew how much it cost. And at the time, I kind of got the money for that, you know, and like we were kind of, I know I had things coming up with money, but at the time I wasn't very fluid.
Yeah.
And I had the money, and then every day this unit was costing me so much money, and I could see my bank balance just going down per day. I was like, if he's in there 2 more days, I can't pay for this. Yeah. You know, and I was like, oh my God, you know, what do I do? You know, and luckily it came out on the day that I had the final check money to pay for it. And like, so I was so relieved that I didn't know what to do. I was going to phone a Fletcher, our manager, and go, Fletch, can you give me some money, please? Because I need to keep Ace in this ICU.
Yeah.
You know, and it was, yes, it's really stressful because at one time you're like, you need to do whatever you can to make him okay. And I was like, but I need to find money to keep paying for this place, because we kind of, and then there was talks about how do we transfer him to another hospital and all that kind of stuff. And luckily it all worked out okay. But it was really, really stressful, and like, no, you'd never know he was so ill when he was a baby.
No, you never would.
Never know.
But then I think that about people that, like Will, who was born 12 weeks early or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, there's people that are premature, and you'd never know. Yeah,
completely. Yeah, it's so amazing what they can do these days. Like, it's so incredible. You know, I mean, they really saved Ace's life. But it was, and when you hear what was wrong, you're like, wow, that would have. You know, if it was 60 years ago that you would have died. You know, like, wow, that's incredible. And like now he's like this amazing kid. You know, it's like you'd never know. Yeah.
And then how did you feel going into Trixie's birth?
I felt pretty chill about Trixie.
Really?
You know, I was like, well, we've done some pretty chaotic shit. You know, whatever we've got, we can deal with it. And Trixie was a piece of piss. You know, so it was for me. You know, Emma, maybe not so much. Excuse me. But yeah, it was. I forget actually. Sorry, going back, Isabel wasn't a C-section. She was vaginal birth, but she was forceps birth. So but then Ace was a C-section. But
I remember hearing that Isabel's birth was a hairy one.
Yeah, it was really kind of like you know, she had all these marks from forceps on her face. You know, like but she was all right. But then.
And in that moment as well, I think whatever you've been through as a couple or whoever your birthing partner is, I think birth is a very odd thing because it's so life and death. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel like in that moment you realise how close they are. Yeah. And there's like a rawness, a tenderness, a fragility that's in that room that possibly doesn't exist anywhere else in a relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, completely. And putting your trust in complete strangers in a way to do what is the most massive thing that will ever happen to you in your life. You know, it's just such a weird experience, isn't it? You know, like, but yeah, it's so. I mean, Emma's done so much stuff now with birth and kind of like with delivering babies. She's so obsessed with it. You know, it's kind of like, I mean, I can't believe it's the perfect job for her. You know, I can't believe she gets to do it. You know, she kind of loves it. I can't believe she does it. Yeah. And like when she comes back and tells you what happened to that, I was like, what? You know, I was rehearsing for something, you know, like pretending to be someone else all day, and you were doing this incredible thing. You know, like it's just like the most insane thing. Like, and these people do this every day. Yeah. It's just so bizarre.
Yeah, it feels like she's allowed to be part of something that's so special.
Yeah, and she feels that. She feels grateful to be there. She's really kind of like, she really feels like she's experiencing something which is the most magical part of someone's life. You know, it's such an amazing thing to be part of.
Yeah. You've now got a teenager.
Yeah.
What so far has been the trickiest part to navigate? Or do you feel like you're heading into it? Or do you feel
I feel like we're experiencing it right now.
Are you?
Yeah, it's moodiness, you know, which is new. You know, she's you know, she's 13. She's a female who's going through a lot, you know, so it's kind of like, and she's different sometimes to what I've ever experienced. You know, I'm like, you're suddenly a very different person, you know, which is shocking for me. Yeah. You know, I mean, she's incredible. You know, like the woman she's becoming is amazing.
I still can't get over the fact that she's taller than me.
I know. It blows me away. Yeah, I know. And also, what I find so weird right now is the way she dresses and the way she looks. She looks like every girl I went to school with. like the 90s is back in, right? So like it's so weird. Like she's dressing the same as the girls that I used to date. You know, she's even got her hair pulled back with 2 little strands at the front.
No.
Yeah, like that's a thing again.
Oh,
and I'm like,
gosh.
this is so weird.
Had to put a glitter gel in there.
Exactly. That'll come. You know, but it's so strange. You know, like and I see that. You know, like, but she's changing. You know, and it's and for me, it's, I don't know. I have to do some work around this. I have a real. How do I word this? I have a real problem with anger. Like I'm terrified of it. You know, like I have a real red mist that I'm very aware of, and I've done lots of work, and I meditate every day, and I kind of do these things because I'm terrified of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's and I really let myself down recently, and I think it's important to share this because I think lots of people go through it. You know, and it's and I kind of, Isabel was going skiing with the school, which can't believe she gets to do these things. You know, but like she's going skiing with the school with her mates, and she was so she had like a taster lesson or something before she went, and we had to go out that day. We were going out, and so she got back from a ski lesson, and she was upstairs, and I kind of went, Isabel, you need to get in the shower, get ready, because we're going to go out. She was like, all right. I was like, okay. So I left, and 20 minutes later, I walked up, and she was sat on her phone on the bed, sitting in her ski gear in Ace's room, just sat on the bed with the door shut. And I walked in there, and I went, Isabel, come on, we got to get ready, you know. Like, and she went, okay, like this. And then I walked out, and I literally turned round, and Ace was in there, and she was going like, kind of mocking me to Ace, and kind of looking at him, and kind of going like this, and I lost it.
Really?
Like, for the first time in a very long time, I completely screamed at her, you know, and it was so disappointing, and I was so in the moment it felt valid, you know, like but I know what that is, and that's my shit. That's me being mocked, you know, as a kid, and me then seeing that triggering me reacting with the same fucking thing that I was reacted to with, you know, and I was, and you know, and Emma pulled me aside and said that's not okay, you know, and I was seething at the time. I was really, I'd really kind of like gone into that state which I haven't been in for such a long time, and it was but then when she said it, it instantly dawned on me what I'd done, and luckily I went straight to it, but I just apologised. I was so sorry. And I said, I'm so sorry. That wasn't you. That was me. I'm so sorry. You did not deserve that. I'm so very, very sorry. And
it's important that our kids hear us say sorry as well. You know, we push so much for, and I don't necessarily agree with the whole forcing kids to say sorry thing. Like, I just think I'd rather discuss what was happening. I just for me, it doesn't mean anything if you're forcing your child to say sorry. But actually, what does mean something is if you're in a moment and you know that you've done something wrong, you've overreacted, whatever it is. If you say sorry, that's displaying good behaviour. Do you know what I mean? Because people do shit. People act. People do bad things. It doesn't make them bad people.
Exactly. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is we're not always right.
No.
You know, we're often wrong. You know, I mean, and I was really wrong.
But if we don't talk about things like that, the anger and things like that, and our reaction to things, how we can sometimes be shouty parents, however you want to word it, and I think even calling it shouty parents kind of diminishes what it actually is, and the anger that we feel because of triggers of, you know, our own child and stuff, and maybe the pressures and stuff that were put on us. If we don't, then we're left with shame and embarrassment and a feeling of failure.
Completely. Or we think that's, well, they've seen that now, you know, and that's a part of me, you know, when that is not you know, anger's fine, right? Anger's an emotion which you and your children should be able to experience, you know, but it's how you display that, I think, and how you, and when it's wrong, you know, rightly admitting it,
Yeah.
you know, and so I did really, really apologise, and I really hope she kind of took that on. You know, I've talked about her again since, you know, and kind of told her why that reaction happened to me, and I think she kind of understood a bit more, you know. So it's but you know, it's then about having some forgiveness for me in a way, which I'm not always very good at, you know, kind of going, okay, you know, you maybe not looked at that enough, you know, kind of going, right, what's that? Why is that still in you?
But that's the thing, because so much of what you do is about unpicking.
Yeah.
Right? Like with the podcast that you're working on, with the documentary, with all the work that you've done on yourself over the years, it's there. But I guess it's also addressing the fact that even when you address it, doesn't mean that it goes away.
Exactly. Yeah. And some parts of things, I think, will just be, you know, like I always used to kind of go, you know, like in recovery, there's this word called serenity. And it always baffled me. I'm like, what the fuck is that? You know, like, what's this inner peace? You know, I want that. You know, and I was like, right, I'm searching for that. That's what I'm searching for. That's what my life search is, to find inner peace. Actually, the thing I've realised whilst shooting this documentary and kind of whilst going into more about me and kind of like doing a lot more work, I think it'd be quite boring.
Really?
Yeah, being like, you know, life is struggle. Do you know what I mean? It really is. Life is fucking hard, you know, and it's about struggle, and it's about how you overcome these things, and it's about kind of like finding ways to navigate, you know, I don't know, I'm acting like I have all the answers. I don't have any answers, you know, but it's like, I've actually kind of relinquished that thought of serenity and inner peace. It's like a daily kind of reprieve from being a dickhead for me. Do you know what I mean? it's like, you know, like I have these things that I do daily, and sometimes I don't do them. And I realised that the morning I shouted at Isabel, I hadn't done my daily routine. I hadn't done my morning routine because, like, we got up, we got to get ready for skiing. It had been the gap between Christmas and New Year, where like we don't know what day it is. You know, like you're waking up late. You know, and like I wasn't getting up and doing my stuff that I normally do. Like I normally get up before the kids. I kind of meditate. I get in the cold bath. I kind of do all these kind of things. I work out. I kind of do these things I do daily, which kind of make me a better father, husband, person. You know, and I hadn't done those things, and sometimes I feel guilty about doing those things because I feel like I'm kind of prioritizing myself, and I think the other members of my family sometimes think that maybe about the stuff that I do as well. But I've kind of learned if I don't do those things, I have a natural ability to be a prick. You know, and it's you know, it's like my go-to reaction is, oh, I'm an absolute dickhead.
But your neon sign in your house literally says, "Don't be a dick."
That's my mantra. You know, that's how I need to live my life on a daily basis. It's like, as long as I'm not being a dick, everything's all right. You know, but I have a natural tendency to do that. You know, so it's like.
Which is so funny though, because as someone who's known you for so long, I would say that that's absolutely not you.
Well, that's because I have to work on it. You know, like I mean, it's you know, I think you know, also I'm quite hard on myself. I'm quite kind of, you know,
because I can tell you absolutely that you are not a dick, and I've never seen you act in a dickish way. If there's ever a situation, you're someone that we can always rely on to be solid.
Thank you very much. Thanks. You know, but
doesn't mean anything when you've got voices in your head.
Yeah, exactly. We have a voice in your head saying you are a horrible human being. You know, but it's yeah, I think it's, you know, it's that. I struggle with those little voices in my head, those little disappointed kind of like self-hatred voices. You know, it's been a kind of battle of mine, you know, and I think that can make me, you know, if I'm not careful of them, they can get a bit of a hold of me. You know, and I can kind of, and that's how I act differently, is if I feel badly about myself, you know, like, but if I do these certain things that I do daily, I kind of seem to be, you know, all right, you know, and I know you should be okay without these things, and sometimes I don't do them and everything's all right. But then if I miss them too many times, I can kind of be someone I don't necessarily like too much, and I don't want to feel like that anymore.
Are you proud of the dad that you are, and are you happy with the dad that you've become?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so. Like I am. It sounds bizarre, but like my dad, who wasn't around very much when I was a kid, but whenever I saw him, I was kind of like, I just idolised him. You know, he came to the show last night.
Yeah, I heard.
You know, it was so sweet for him to see it. You know, and like, he's not really a theatre geezer. You know, he's a local pub guy. You know, so he's it was so bizarre. Like, he went with Emma and her friends from the Trek.
No.
So like, my dad, who's the most un-theatre geezer ever, was sat between Emma and 5-6 women from the G Trek.
Yeah.
You know, and he was in a great mood. He loved it. He had a fantastic time. But I think he was always very much about manners.
Right.
You know, and that was kind of instilled in me from a very young age. And it's something which I think is important. You know, is not going overboard, not being like, oh, thank you so, you know, not being apologetically thankful, but being just having good manners, you know. And like, one of the greatest things that happens to me is people telling me my kids have fantastic manners.
Yeah.
You know, it makes me feel great, you know. So and it's not, I don't have to pick them up on it. You know, I never have to kind of go, Ace, remember to say things. You know, it's just something that happens. You know, it's always really makes me feel proud. You know, but they always make me feel proud. They're just really good souls, fun.
Yeah.
You know, they make me fucking laugh so much. You know, every day they make me laugh. You know, and if you can make me laugh, you know, you're winning. You know, when it comes to that. But also, they can tell me anything.
Yeah.
You know, and they do. They come to me with stuff, and I'm like, wow, so pleased that we have this relationship that you feel that you can come to me with. Like, Isabel's come to me with stuff, and I'm like, you know, you're coming to your dad with this. Wow, that's really cool. You know, I don't know what to answer though. He made me talk to mummy.
I'll have a quick Google.
Exactly.
Come back to me later.
Exactly. Well, I've got a meditation practice for you, Isabel, and maybe you should get in a cold bath. You know, but you know, but it's I love it. I love being a dad. I love it so fucking much. Like, and I'm so grateful for it. There's such a joy every day.
If you could write a letter on fatherhood to anyone, who would it be to, and what would you say?
A letter on fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
Who would it be to? I mean, I'd love to write one to my stepdad, but I don't think that's a very good idea. I don't know who it would be to. One of the biggest things that has come to me over the last kind of 5 years is a saying that I was told a lot, which I never really understood, which is this too shall pass, you know. And I think that's so important for everything. Yeah. You know, like, whatever you're going through, whatever's happening, it will end. You know, if you're in a horrible situation, if you're stuck at home and your life is horrible, will end. Like not life, but like this situation. You know, like there is always a way out. There's always something coming. You know, and if you're going through a hard patch, you know, it's always darkness before the dawn. You know, like, it's always, you know, there is always, it will end. This too shall pass. You know, and it's I've had to tell myself that a few times in my life. You know, when I've been really dark and really down. You know, like, it's kind of like, and it's worked. You know, and it is true. You know, so I remember when I first had a kid, my brother told me that whatever it is, it won't last. So if it's bad, don't worry, it won't last. But if it's good, it won't fucking last. You know, when it comes to like kids and sleeping and kind of feeding and stuff, you know, if they go, oh my God, they slept through the night, brilliant.
Just enjoy that moment right now.
Enjoy that moment right now because it won't last. Yeah. So it's, you know, whatever it is, you know, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we finished the podcast with you finishing 3 sentences.
Okay.
The first one is, being a dad means...
being of service, you know, kind of, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Since having children, I
feel much older than I thought I would. But that's great because I always felt like a kid. You know, I've always felt like such a child in every environment. I think that's from Busted as well. Like, we were always so young, you know, and everyone around us was so much older. Since I've had kids, suddenly I'm not a kid anymore. Do you know what I mean? I'm like an adult and I've got to look after
Do
this.
you relish that responsibility?
Yeah, I do. I really do. And I really take it seriously. Like, I mean, being a parent is the most important job you'll ever have in your life.
Yeah.
You know, and it's and I take it very seriously, a bit too seriously at times. Like, I can sit down and give them these nuggets of knowledge, and they just fucking roll their eyes at me. Dad's off again. He's read something new, you know. You know. So, but I do. I take it very seriously.
And I'm happy when.
I'm happy when my family is happy. You know, I'm happy when we're all together and we're all smiling.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, G.
What a joy. Sitting down and talking to a mate for an hour or two.
Love it.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.